Rise World Summit is a summit where we all get together to stay healthy both for mind, the body, and get together as a big thought leader group to further the sustainable development goals set by the UN. We really think that collaboration is the key, and that's why we do a very collaborated, co-created platform. And Sandeep ji, thank you so much for being here on this platform and really sharing your knowledge and expertise about how to be well and healthy. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashwini, and a very warm welcome to all the attendees. Good evening, good morning.
Good morning, Sandeep ji.
And thank you very much, Ashwini, for getting all this organized at such a short notice. And as Ashwini just mentioned, right, a great collaborative effort on the part of her and the whole organization to get so many people across the globe online and pack them into all these sessions. And these sessions and this whole seminar event is also about sustainable growth. And so I was talking to Ashwini, and when we are talking, looking at the great effort this needed, and what she mentioned was very beautifully that there are just 4 people over there, right, putting this whole event together. So it's a massive job: logistics, developing the platform, getting all those people, experts together, communicating with them. It's a mammoth job. But what really helped, as he mentioned, was it just evolves. Right? People just come together. They just come together, helping each other, forming a chain virtually, and that's how we come together. And this is exactly what yoga is. This is exactly what yoga is. The meaning of yoga in Sanskrit and also in Hindi is literally to join, to add. Yoga, bringing together. The highest philosophy is, of course, we'll not discuss that, but if you look at the origin of this term yoga, it is from the Rig Veda itself. And that the objective of those seers was the highest, the union with the divine, right? Reaching that state of fulfillment, the highest. So that is how this whole philosophy of yoga emanates. Now you would all be wondering, having said that tone, that what is there to even talk about in yoga, right? When we talk about yoga, we don't talk about yoga, we just do it. Yoga is about the practice and exercise, the form of exercise. That's what we have grown up with. But this is exactly where we need to know what yoga is, and it's high time that the world knows what yoga is, just beyond this body, and to start giving you an idea about yoga. Yoga is not just a practice. Practice comes way down the chain of the events, or this whole chain, if I may say so. I use this term called 3 P's of yoga. So I just picked it up from the 5 P's of marketing, but that is where the similarity ends. There's nothing to do with marketing. I just got this idea from, that's a terminology of 5 P's of marketing. So I say 3 P's of yoga. It is a philosophy, a psychology, and a practice, and not just a practice. And let's just try to look at it. So the first thing which we think when this word philosophy comes in our mind is, philosophy is something very dry. Firstly, it is something which is just meant for reading at best, for your intellectual gymnastics, intellectual calisthenics. It is not really practical. It may seem inspiring. It may use some beautiful words, lofty messages, but that's just about it. It's just for your intellectual consumption, nothing really to do with the practical life. But this is where yoga is so different. It's called yoga darshan, right? And what does darshan mean? darshan means something that you experience, that you envision. It is not just something that you read about, but you can actually experience it. In fact, we have 6 Vedic philosophies, which are Uttari Mimamsa, Purvi Mimamsa, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, and then Sankhya and Yoga. So Yoga is one of the 6 philosophies. This is called Shad Darshan, and Yoga is called the Yoga Darshan. Now, when we talk about Yoga Darshan, this is we usually talk about the philosophy of Maharishi Patanjali, who wrote what is called the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. 196 sutra is an aphorism. Now, just let me give you a little idea about what sutra is. See, when you have to describe something, if I have to describe or write about a process or an event or a concept, right? I would literally write in few pages or even a book. But then when those few pages have to be condensed into, let's say, many pages are to be condensed into 1-page summary. See how difficult it is? And that 1-page summary, if I have to condense it to few lines, executive summary, the shorter the description gets, the difficult it is to express. And these sutras, by the way, are just 4 or 5 words. They're not even shlok. Even shlok contain few lines. Sutra contains 3 words, 4 words, 5 words. And in those few words, literally 3, 4, 5 words, the whole philosophy and the process, the essence is expressed. So you would imagine how much effort, how much time would have gone in just choosing those words to express and to define. So what I call them is a sutra is an intense condensation of a profound wisdom, of profound knowledge. So let us, before starting with the sutra, I'll just mention the definition of yoga. Before that, if you would imagine what is there, what is so philosophical about it? Why do you need philosophy? And what does this philosophy set? What is this philosophy all about? Just as we have a vision in any organization, like this Rise Idobro has a vision of sustainable growth. Each organization has a vision. Each company has a vision. Yoga also has a vision, and that's the highest. And what is that vision? It says Atyantik Dukh Nivritti Param Anand Prapti. Cessation of all the miseries and attainment of the highest bliss. No other vision can be as high as this. Whether it's an organization, whether it's a process, or anywhere you can take it, or an organization earning billions of dollars. None of the organization, nowhere, no institute can have such a lofty vision. Just Paramanand Prapti, Atyantik Dukh Nivritti. That is the highest vision. Now, if we were to just discount it, if we were just wondering, what is Atyantik Dukh Nivritti and all that, it may look again very philosophical. So let me just replace it by one word, one term. It's called fulfillment. See, fulfillment is what we are looking for all the time in all our experiences, in all that we are doing. And that fulfillment is something which we never get. This is which is what yoga has, this highest objective, that you will get the highest fulfillment if you are on this path of yoga. And of course, there are other philosophical constructs also, but let me just use that to set a tone. So that is the philosophical aspect, highest philosophical aspect. And now when we say fulfillment, the next question, again, it may seem philosophical, but it is actually very practical, which is, you see, we live our own, the whole of this life that we live, everything that we experience day after day, week after week, month after month, is all through this mind, right? Anything, whether it's an event, a situation, a relationship, anything that you could experience is all in the mind, right? But let me just ask you, do we really know the mind? Now that may seem as something that may even seem as a whimsical question. I mean, what is there to know, to know in the mind, right? It's my mind after all. What is there to know in it? What exactly is it? I just live it. That's the way I'm just living it. I am having emotions. I study, I grow, I do, I interact, I have some desires and I'm fulfilling them. It's just happening to the mind. I mean, what is in it to know it? But isn't it so strange? You buy a small gadget like a cell phone, and that comes with a manual how to use the cell phone. Have you ever thought that should there be a manual for this mind or not? Just think about it. Think about it. And why is it necessary? If at all, why is it necessary? It's like this. Suppose you have a weighing measure to weigh vegetables, no, weigh small things. Why do we need to calibrate that weighing measure after 6 months or so? The need is because if that weighing machine is faulty, then the reading that it is going to give us will be faulty, right? We can't rely on the weight of the object that I'm trying to weigh because the machine itself is faulty. So I need to calibrate the machine. Similarly, if my mind is disorganized, let's just think about this. If my mind is disorganized, all the experiences, small or big, at home, with friends, at work, perceptions, all of that will go literally haywire. So it is incumbent upon ourselves, right? Not just as a philosophical construct, but as a very practical and logical understanding that we need to set this mind right, literally organize and calibrate this mind. And that is what yoga exactly does. Now, if you've been wondering what does it really do? How does it calibrate the mind? And what we talk about it. So let me just start with the first sutra itself, or the second sutra, which defines what yoga is. As I said, just few words. A sutra is a few word aphorism. And the second sutra says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. See, just 4 words. In fact, 3 words. First word is yoga itself. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Now notice one interesting thing. We are used to believing that yoga is all about this body and the practice. There's no mention of body in this term, right? It says Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It's not talking about, Maharishi Patanjali is not talking about the body at all. Let's look at what do each of these words mean. Nirod is to restrain. Nirod is to restrain. Chit is an interesting term. At a superficial level, I can just think of chit as my mind, right? The mind through which I experience everything. But Vedant has a more sophisticated definition. It says it is the inner instrumentation, antahkaran, the whole of our inner is what is also called the subtle body. You see, it is gross body, which is the body that we see. But more important than this gross body is our subtle body. And that comprises of what? Is the mind, my intellect, my memories, my ego. All of that, all of that adds up to the experience. So this whole apparatus, antahkaran, is called chit. Restraint, nirodha, as we said, as we just saw, means inhibition. And vritti, again, is at a superficial level, it means restraining the thought waves. See, all our problems, if you were to just think about, all the problems of our life emanate from this uncontrolled mind, which is just ruminating all the time, fluctuating all the time, right? And this is something which you can just experience. As the mind becomes calm and still, right, I experience that peace, isn't it? So that is one way of looking at it, and that is the definition which you would normally find in many of those commentaries. But then vritti has a deeper meaning, and that's very interesting. Vritti is not just about these thought waves. Vritti means modification. Now, modification might seem to be a very odd term. What is exactly modification got to do with a mind? Now, just see this scenario for a moment. Suppose there's something which had happened yesterday or a few days before. Someone, my friend or anyone, had caused me great distress and hurt my feelings, and I may have even forgotten it. It may have happened a few months back. Some event happens, or some thought comes in my mind about that person, and that whole event comes alive again. Now, what starts to happen? It starts with a little thought about that person. It goes on to build up on that event that happened, how I was wronged, what did I say, what that person said, and see what's happening. What is building in your mind? Can you observe what is building in your mind? A whole movie is being built, screen to screen, isn't it? I'm literally, as if I'm literally living that moment. It's happening right there. The whole movie is being played out. I'm living those emotions. So what is happening? What is happening in that moment? Literally, my mind is getting modified. You see, my mind has got consumed, it has got modified with that particular event. And that is what is called a vritti. A vritti. It's a very sophisticated terminology. So yoga is the science, the process, the philosophy which helps us to inhibit the modification of the mind. See, just in few words, the whole essence is expressed so beautifully. And if I may add, this is if I just remember the 3 P's that I started off with: philosophy and psychology. Now, if you look at this definition of yoga itself, it's a very highest and sophisticated and deep form of psychology. See, psychology looks at our behavioral patterns, right? How we act and react in different situations. As a leader, how I need to build up certain traits. In conflict management, what are the things that I need to be aware of? How do I build that ability? For communication, feedback, right? All these things are behavioral, cognitive abilities and how they are built up. And that is what psychology deals with. And it's a very interesting subject, one of my a very interesting subject of mine. But just look at one very essential thing in this. These all these are different abilities which are expressed, right? Traits, teamwork, for instance. But if you notice one thing, one very important thing which is common to all of this, an important thread, all of these abilities, whether it's teamwork, conflict management, leadership, communication abilities, how you give feedback, your listening abilities, right? I just listed a few of them. At home, equally at home, right? Not just at the office, with your spouse and your children and the family. That is all. That there also a lot of psychology comes into play. All of that gets impacted by my emotions. Just think about it. If I have stable emotions, if my mind is at peace, all of this literally gets taken care of. Right? How I listen, how I talk, how I act in a team, how I manage conflicts, how calm and composed I am as a leader in situations, in crisis situations. All of that is actually regulated by your emotions. It's like this. I'll give you a very interesting metaphor. If you look at a large banyan tree, right? A tree has got many branches, and on those branches you have all these leaves. Now, when these leaves start to get dry and these branches start to get dry, what is the way to revive them? What do? Right? You put water in the roots, you give good soil to the roots, you feed the roots. And once you do that, it'll not impact just one branch, but all the branches and all the leaves. Similarly, if I reach that state of yoga chitta vritti nirodha, it's a journey. And every little progress that I make at the level of the emotions, see what's happening? The roots, this will start manifesting in all my behaviors and not just one behavior. That is the point to understand. And this is where I say yoga is the subtlest and the deepest of psychology. It is not looking at just these behaviors, but the root cause of these behaviors. So that is the psychology part, right? Of course, there are some other aspects also, but of course, we will not be able to cover all that. So we got the philosophy, the objective, and we got the psychology. We saw this definition, what yoga is about. And then if we were to come to practice now what practice do we, what is practice? If I may say so. And then you would say that, but then the definition doesn't mention the body at all. It just says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Then where do the asanas come in? Where do the asanas fit in at all? Right? Just work at the level of the mind, and you achieve that that stillness of the mind, or whatever you say. Of course, there is also one path of meditation, but I will just try to link how the asanas come into play, especially the yoga asanas help to work at the level of the mind. Well, just consider your own experience. When your mind is agitated, isn't your breath also agitated? Because there's agitation in the mind, there's agitation in the breath, right? And if you could recall, it literally shows up in your body. You start having those hot rushes. Your face gets agonized. You can see that anger seething. Someone who sees you can actually make out. you will get your rumbling in your abdomen, acidity, right? So the whole, the mind has the tremendous impact, not just on your emotions, they impact your emotions, but your breathing becomes heavy and your body, in fact, something interesting, what the medical science is now finding out the impact of the emotions on the body. They What they missed out was, all this while, was the impact the emotions have on the body. And this is something our yogis knew thousands of years ago. See, in yoga, there's a term called Adi leading to Vyadhi. Adi means mental turbulence, stress, anxiety. And Vyadhi is the manifestation, the physical disease. Adi leads to Vyadhi. Literally, this is what happens. And of course, now when you look at this medicine, the doctors, they are very open to it now. I mean, they've seen it. I'll just give you a very interesting. It's not interesting actually. It's unfortunate. A friend of mine, a batchmate of mine, my own age, he took retirement thinking that he'll spend the rest of his life in bliss playing music. He developed he had this problem in his cervical, and it became very acute in almost all the cervical from C1 to C5. When he sent his X-ray to a doctor in Chennai, he's a leading doctor of spinal injuries and vertebrae. The first thing what he said, he didn't ask him anything about his history or diet and posture, nothing. The first thing he said was directly to him, you have destroyed your cervical by your thoughts. See? This is the impact which the thoughts have. And the next time, I'm just giving you a small tip. The next time you start feeling pain in your cervical, of course, if you have a history, that's a different thing. But these little pains that we feel at the back of the neck, the shoulders, watch your thoughts. Just watch your thoughts. They have a great impact. It increases what is called Vat component in the body, as Ayurveda would, as you would find in Ayurveda, and that Vat component has a direct bearing on all these pains. So that is the extent of the relationship of the mind to the body. But you would just be wondering, that's fine, but how does it answer my question of Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha? Right? Now, the interesting point is, it is not just one way. It is not just when the mind is agitated, the body is agitated. The converse is also true. And this interesting relationship is what the yogis found out. And that is why I call it a science. If you were to just sit in silence for a moment, make your body still, and just make your breath still. I think you all would have been doing some of a deep breathing. You would have noticed when the breath becomes harmonized, the mind also becomes calm and tranquil. See, that is the interesting relationship. Now, what does that point to? It points to a tremendous possibility that, see, those of you who have tried meditation, now I have so many, several hundred people in my yoga group, I think a few thousand maybe. And the first question which I ask them is, when you close your eyes and try to meditate, what happens? The first thing which happens is that your thoughts, number of thoughts, they multiply 10 times. Multiply 10 times, right? sometimes you feel, oh, I just opened my eyes. It becomes so disturbing. It is an art. No, meditation is not so easy. It has to be learned over a period of time. It's an art and science. Now, that is one way to do it. And we must continue doing that. We must continue exploring that also. Through the asanas, what happens now is that with this connection that we have, if I could make the body still and calm, and if I can, when the body becomes calm and still, the breath becomes calm and still, I can make the mind also calm and still, you see. This is the interesting relationship, and this is exactly what this was the objective, the prime objective of the asanas was typically this. And the interesting part is that the body heals nonetheless. So I'm not discounting that yoga cannot be a therapy. Yoga is not a fitness regime. Of course it is. But having a very limited approach, you see, it limits the entire expansiveness of this whole science. As I say, that yoga is like a 7-course spread. And the body part, the physical, even the asanas can be done with mindfulness. And that's exactly my own approach. And that's the way I also teach. You are just limiting yourself to the first 2 courses. The dessert, the pudding is at the end. So if you were to travel this entire journey from the body to the mind, you see that it makes a tremendous difference. The whole approach changes. So the objective of the yogis was, since the body is a distraction, the mind is a distraction. So through the body, I make the breath still, calm, and the mind becomes calm and still. When all the modifications have been inhibited, then I can go beyond this mind, right? I will not talk about that. That's a deeper realm. But that is, I think you would understand that how we work through the body, through the breath, we also work at the mind, not just the body and the breath. Now, I may not have the time for the asana. I could have, let's see if I have some time at the end, but I'll just, we'll just practice one simple a deep breathing, and just try to see how a simple deep breathing, which we say, can be translated to a much higher level. Now, firstly, let me just bring this question of pranayama. I mentioned pranayama in my note. Again, a big disservice and misunderstanding about pranayama is that it's a breathing exercise. No, it is not. Swami Vivekananda, when he gave this lecture on Raj Yoga in the West, he started off when he introduced. See, Vivekananda was the starring personality, right? He not only introduced Vedanta and Hinduism, which is called, but he also introduced yoga. Much before this Hatha Yoga became a rage, the concept of yoga itself, it was introduced by Swami Vivekananda. And here he talks about pranayama. He says pranayama is not a breathing exercise. That will rattle many of us, because that's what we have grown up with. And then he goes on to add, it has very little to do with breath, if anything. And that's even more surprising. Breath is the grossest manifestation of that prana, and I use this breathing to regulate that prana, right? Energy. Let me just try to explain what do we mean by that. Now, I'll just ask you all to take a deep breath in. You just take a deep breath in, close your eyes, just try to breathe in. Take this few breaths in. You may open your eyes. Now just look at this process of breathing. Our mind is on the breath. See, when we are breathing, what do we feel when you're breathing? The movement of air, right? And that's what we feel. But just try to go a little deeper. What enables this breathing, may I ask? Just look at it. So we never look, even think about these things. What is enabling this breathing? The lungs, right? The lungs have to expand. If I may have the best of the lungs and they can't expand, there's no breath. You're brain dead. So what enables this breathing is the movement of the lungs. The lungs expand, they fill the thoracic cavity, and that's how the lungs get filled by this air, the breath. Now go a little deeper. Do the lungs expand on their own? There is a muscular movement, right? The diaphragm contracts. The diaphragm is a muscle. Actually, the diaphragm is a muscle which is located between the abdomen below and the lungs above. So this diaphragm contracts. This is not expanding, it's contracting, going down, allowing the space for the lungs to stretch down. So just look at this chain. The diaphragm has to move down, right? The diaphragm has to move down to enable the lungs to expand and for the breath to enter. But go even beyond this diaphragm. How does the diaphragm move? How does the diaphragm move? So there is a nerve, a sensation, a message sent by the phrenic nerve, which is in the C3 to C5 location here, that sends a signal to the diaphragm to contract, for the lungs to expand, for the breath to go in. And even that signaling is probably controlled by the activity in the brain stem region. Now you may be wondering, I mean, why am I talking all about this? Right? What is happening in all this chain? There is energy, right? Pran. And from there we get pranayama. From the grossest, what do we feel? We feel just the breath. But the breath is being enabled by the cross expansion of the lungs, energy in the lungs. So subtler than the lungs, which we don't feel, is the movement of the muscles. Again, energy. And even that is moved by a very subtle impulse, electrical and chemical impulse. Even that is energy, by the way. That is the subtlest, there's a subtle form of energy, and maybe even subtler in the brain. So what is happening is, it is this subtle movement of the energy. Please notice, it is not, I'm just breathing in. It is the subtlest movement of the energy manifesting into the gross. It becomes grosser and grosser. And what we experience is just the breath. But that is enabled by this prana. So pranayama is not a breathing exercise. Now you get it? It is the grossest manifestation of the prana. Well, if this impulse doesn't come from the phrenic nerve, see what happens? That is when we say we are brain dead, right? Unfortunately, it happens. That has to be fired. So subtlest form of energy to the gross. This whole chain is called pran. Now, of course, through breathing, we regulate this pran, just as, I'll just give a metaphor. This is a metaphor. An electrical energy moves a turbine. an electrical energy moves a mechanical turbine, and by the mechanical rotation of the turbine also, we have this hydroelectric power that moves these giant wheels, turbines, the water, and that creates the electrical energy. So I can say that this electrical energy is the prana, and that movement of the turbine is the breath. So just as this energy manifests in this breathing at this gross level can also help in what is called the regulating of this energy, control. No, it's pranayam. There's no breath mentioned in it. It's pranayam. Pran means this life force energy, and ayam means controlling, harmonizing, expansion, regulating. Because this energy, this pran is actually what is responsible for the state of the body, right? The energy, the very energy itself you derive from this pran, this energy, the circulation of the blood, the subtle movement or neural impulses, 100 billion neurons that you have here, 1,000 billion synaptic connections, all are lighted up by these electrical impulses, subtle pran. Then the movement of your muscles, the organs, gross form of the pran, circulation of the blood, digestion, all of that is energy from the subtle to the gross. And pranayam is the process of regulating this energy, the prana. Right? That is what pranayam is. So what we will do, for just 5 minutes, I'll just take you through a simple abdominal breathing, which I say to be done with awareness. And I'll just give you the instructions, what I mean by that. First, just do an abdominal breathing on your own, as you would. You are breathing in fully, as you would do an abdominal breathing, and you exhale. Right. Now you can open your eyes. Now, usually the way we breathe is we take a deep breath, just looking at the breath, and I exhale. Now, what we will do is with more awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of this whole process of the breath, which I just described, which is I'm not just breathing, I'm not just breathing, I'm attaching the awareness to that breathing process. And that takes it to a different dimension altogether. So, and what is this process? As we just talked about, how is this breathing being enabled? And I just become aware of that. As I'm starting to breathe, actually I'm not breathing, I'm energizing myself. The lungs have to be expanded, right? For the breath to go in. So I'm energizing myself, expanding, expansion in the lungs, expansion in the abdominal region, energizing, expanding the body, the lungs, and the breath. This is how I will do it. As I inhale, and we will hold the breath for some time. Now notice, when I hold the breath, do I really hold the breath? Is it the breath that I'm holding? Or is it the lungs, the muscles that I'm really holding? Which is restricting the breath from getting exhaled, right? So when I hold the breath, I'm holding, literally I'm just holding, if I may use that word, this energy, the prana, stillness in the prana. And when I'm exhaling, again, I'm harmonizing this prana. I'm releasing the lungs, I'm releasing the muscles, and with that, the exhalation is happening. So let me just repeat. As I inhale, as you inhale, I will give you a count. I'll say inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just Follow that. And when I say inhale, inhale with expansion, energization of the abdomen, the breath, the lungs. And I can also integrate this breathing and expansion in the body and the breath with the expansion in the mind, right? That's an interesting part. I can also expand my mind along with that, literally as if my forehead is expanding, like this, with joy, with energy. And when I'm holding the energy, holding the lungs, and as I exhale, I harmonize, relax. So, expansion of the body, lungs, breath, and the mind. When I'm holding, you feel, see, when you hold the breath, your thoughts, your mind also just start to dissolve. As I exhale, I harmonize. Right? Now let's do it. Close your eyes and don't open your eyes until I ask you to do so. We'll just do it for 2 minutes. Keep your back straight. Your hands, you can either keep them in Gyan Mudra, the tip of the index finger touching the tip of your thumb, keeping your hands on your knees like this, or you can just keep your palms open, but keep your palms facing upward. Keep your back straight. Do not slouch. I see when you're exhaling, there's a tendency for the shoulders to move down. Don't do that. Keep it straight up. First, let us start with an exhalation. Just inhale and exhaling, remove all the air, all the breath from within. Now we will do the abdominal yogic breathing with full energy and awareness. Take your awareness to the lower part of the lungs and to your abdomen. And let's begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, expand, energize the body, breath, mind. Hold, stillness, quietude in the body and the breath. Exhale, harmonize. Inhale, energize, expand the mind also. Hold. Exhale. Be aware of every movement in the body, the breath, and the mind. Inhale, energize, expand, hold, stillness, quietude, silence. Exhale, harmonize. Inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, expand, energize, hold, stillness, quietude. Exhale, harmonize. The last round. Inhale, hold, Exhale as slowly as you can, as if there's hardly any movement in the breath. Keep sitting in silence just for 1 minute. Keep your eyes closed. Don't open your eyes as yet. In the state of being in sthir sukham asanam, a stillness in the body, stability in the breath, or rather in the pran, serenity in the mind. Let your awareness be on your breath. And when I say awareness on the breath, make no attempt to regulate or modify the rhythm of the breath in any way. Let the breathing, let the breath be as is. You are, as it were, watching the breath as an observer, the witness, a detached witness. Breathing in, know you breathe in, the knowingness part, not the experience. Breathing out, know you breathe out. Breathing in, know you breathe in. Breathing out, know you breathe out. As you breathe in, the breath caresses, rubs the nasal passage very softly. Be aware of that. Gentle contact, a gentle caress. As you inhale and as you exhale. Again, without making any attempt to regulate the rhythm of the breath, just observe the breath caressing the nasal passage as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Breathing joyfully with the whole of your body, as it were, with the expansion of the whole of the body, breathe in joyfully in an expansive move, and exhale, harmonize completely. Breathing in from the infinity, the infinite cosmic space, and breathing out into the infinity. The space within, notice, is the extension of the same cosmic space all around us, the infinite cosmic space. And within this space, the infinite space within and around us, the body appears. So I am that infinity itself. Breathe in from the infinity into the infinity, expanding, relishing every moment of the breath, of the movement of the pran. Hold that stillness for some time And breathe out joyfully as slowly as you can. Om. 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 Asato ma sadgamaya tamso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very gently become aware of the space. Become aware of your body. And whenever you feel, whenever you want to, you may open your eyes very gently, maintaining the harmony. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all very much.
I think I will end the session here by thanking you for being here today, for taking us through the entire essence of yoga, and surely it's inspired me to do more meditation and just pranayam, and also learn more about how to keep my mind, not that disturbed.